Hey, it's Galfi and Galfette. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about the tempo track and its possibilities. You probably know that it's common in a project to have tempo changes. That's where the tempo track comes in, but it has other uses too. It also has a dedicated editor, which we'll talk about a little later in this video. I'll tell you all about it right after the intro. Feel free to add a like to this video, it's always a great motivator for us to keep making videos. You can also subscribe to our channel and activate the bell if you like our work. To begin with, creating a tempo track is just like creating any other track. You can click on the plus button here. Then More Tracks and choose Tempo Track. But the easiest way is to right-click in the left-hand area of your project and click on Add Tempo Track. Here, I'm going to activate the horizontal divider so that my tempo track is always at the top. This divider separates audio, MIDI, instrument, folder, group and effect tracks at the bottom from other tracks, such as the tempo track or the arranger track, at the top of the screen. By default, when you open a new project, the tempo is set to 120 BPM or beat per minute. You can add a new point simply by using the pencil tool on the tempo track. The precision of the new point's location depends on the type of grid chosen. If you want to know more about the grid, I talked about it in another video. I'll put the link in the description. Here, I've set it to bar. My tempo points will therefore be set to bars. If I choose beat, it will be set to beats. And if I choose quantize, it will depend on the quantize setting. Only MIDI events will be affected by tempo changes. You can also adapt audio events to the tempo. There are tools for this, but I'll tell you about them in a later video. On this project, the tempo is 172 BPM. If I change it to 120 here, you can hear that the synth and drums, which are in MIDI, follow the tempo. If you select several tempo points, you have access to the project's tempo editor, which lets you modify tempo points on the fly with these controls. By clicking on the little E here, you can adjust the length of the tempo line or its end. When the tempo track is selected, you can modify each tempo point manually in the inspector. You can also click on this note to access the tempo track editor in another window, which you can resize. Here, you can modify the rhythmic signature. I'll tell you more about this in a future video. And here on the left is the tempo scale in BPM. In the toolbar, you can set the auto scroll, choose the selection, pencil, eraser or zoom tools. However, it's better to use Ctrl plus mouse for horizontal zoom. You can choose step to change the tempo directly. If you want a progressive tempo change, you can use ramp. Here, I start my drum part at tempo 60 and increase it to 120. You can hear that the tempo is gradually increasing, and you can also see it in the tempo window in the editor or at the bottom of your screen. If you select automatic, the next tempo point will be of the same type as the last one selected. Here you can choose the snap type, knowing that 1/1 is the bar. If the rhythm is a 4/4, then 1/4 will snap to the beats and so on. The process tempo button is the same as pressing the E here. The process bars button allows you to insert, delete, replace, or reinterpret the signature events for a specified bar range by automatic adjustment of the signature and tempo events. To delete a tempo point, you can use the eraser. An easier way is to select one or more points by drawing a rectangle and pressing the Del key on your keyboard. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for another Cubase video.